Freddy and Juan were one breakdown away from calling the season a total disaster, until a single cut in the pit flipped their entire fate. What started as the worst run of their careers suddenly exploded into an $88 million turnaround that nobody on the claim saw coming. One discovery, one hidden chamber, one impossible streak of visible gold that pushed their season from collapse to history-making success. The crew didn't just find a rich pocket. They unlocked a gold trap so powerful it overturned 6 brutal weeks of failure in a matter of days. And just when they thought they'd seen the full miracle, the ground revealed something even bigger. Here's how their darkest season erupted into the strike that saved everything. Smash that like button and subscribe right now, because what you're about to see is the greatest comeback Freddy and Juan have ever pulled off. The season opens on a scene nobody expected. Freddy Dodge and Juan Ibarra standing in front of a wash plant that looks like it's been through a war. Hoses are torn open like snakes that gave up the fight. Pumps wheeze and choke as if they're sucking mud instead of water. And fine slurry is backed up across the riffles in a way that guarantees one thing: no gold. Not this week, not any week. The whole setup feels cursed, like the ground itself decided it was finished with them. Their gold totals sit embarrassingly low, nowhere close to break even, and the worst part is the crew's eyes. Everyone has that look miners get when repairs start replacing mining, tired, burned out, frustrated, wondering how a season that started with so much hope turned into nothing but breakdowns, delays, and headaches. Word spreads fast in a mining valley, and rumors move even faster when there's blood in the water. Buyers, quiet, opportunistic, smiling with friendly concern, start drifting around the claim line, asking questions nobody wants to answer. How's the wash plant holding up? You moving overburden slower this year? Any chance you'll scale back operations? Freddy can see right through it. They're circling, waiting for the day he throws his hands up and sells the ground at 50 cents on the dollar. The same ground he believed would secure his crew's future. Juan finally says the thing everyone's been thinking. I've never seen us this close to collapse. One more week like this and we're done. His voice isn't dramatic, just brutally honest. The kind of truth miners hate saying out loud. The narrator cuts in with a chilling line that sets the tone for everything that follows. This isn't just a rough patch. This is the kind of season that usually ends a career. The kind of season that buries operations so deep they never come back. But sometimes a collapse is the only thing that reveals what's been hiding below the surface. During a routine inspection of a trench wall that gave way overnight, Freddy stares at something that shouldn't exist on this bench. A perfect wave-shaped layer of fine black sand, shimmering with magnetite. It doesn't look accidental. It looks sculpted. He crouches, brushing a handful of it into his palm, watching how it clings together, heavy and unnatural. Juan drops to one knee beside him, pulls out a magnet, and drags it through the sand. Instantly, metallic flakes leap upward, clinging to the magnet like static charged iron filings. Both men freeze. This isn't just black sand. This is concentrated glacial pressure material, the kind forced into pockets by ancient ice flows thousands of years ago. Freddy remembers a detail from an old 1960s survey he'd seen years back, something most miners ignored. A note about misplaced glacial drifts in the region, strange unmapped concentrations of heavy minerals that didn't line up with any known geological pattern. Everyone assumed the old surveyors made a mistake. But now, staring at this exposed layer, Freddy feels a spark he hasn't felt all season. The collapse didn't destroy their hopes. It exposed something the old-timers missed entirely. Something that was never supposed to be found unless nature tore the ground open first. He leans in close, voice barely above a whisper. This isn't normal. This is a gold trap signature. That sentence snaps the entire crew awake. If Freddy's right, the reason their season collapsed might be the reason it's about to explode. Juan launches their high-resolution drone, now outfitted with a borrowed ground-penetrating overlay from an exploration team operating a few miles away. As the drone rises, the tension rises with it. The screen begins projecting a multi-layer density map, showing weak mineralization at the surface, just as expected. But then, deeper, something takes shape. a long, narrow ribbon of high-density material coiled underground like a sleeping giant. It runs 20 feet beneath their current cut and, most importantly, cuts diagonally across the entire valley. That single detail makes Freddy's heart pound. If the channel runs opposite the modern flow direction, then it isn't a modern channel at all. It's prehistoric, a remnant of an ancient river corridor that hasn't seen sunlight in millions of years. Juan zooms in, watching the ribbon thicken the deeper it runs. Freddy, this isn't just a pay line. This is a buried river. Freddy's voice cracks as everything clicks into place. They've been mining in the wrong direction the entire season. The real pay line isn't 20 yards away. It's 30 yards off to the east, sitting untouched, uncut, and completely unmined. No wonder the plant ran dry all season. They weren't unlucky. They were digging beside a fortune instead of into it. The narrator drives the moment home. What the drone reveals is a billion-year river corridor, untouched, unmined, and unbelievably rich. As the drone hovers over the valley, Freddy and Juan stare at the screen with a shared look that needs no words. The excitement of discovery fades into something heavier, the understanding of what chasing it will actually require. And that's when they bring the crew together. The drone data glows on the tablet as everyone studies the diagonal cut slicing beneath unstable, waterlogged overburden. Massive boulders sit locked in the upper layers like jagged teeth, each one capable of crushing a machine if the ground shifts. Juan makes the risk clear. They're running low on parts, fuel, and money, and pushing heavy equipment onto soft ground could end the entire operation. One collapse and the season is finished. But Freddy counters with the truth everyone already feels. This new channel is the first real lifeline they've had all season. Walking away guarantees failure. Chasing it at least gives them a fighting chance. The crew trades tense glances, fear battling with the spark they'd nearly lost. Nobody wants the gamble, but nobody wants to turn their backs on a billion-year river either. Juan reminds them another storm is rolling in 48 hours from now. Once the rain hits, the ground will turn into soup, the boulders will shift, and the entire cut will become unworkable until next year, if they even make it to next year. Freddy calls for a crew vote, and hands rise slowly, one by one, until there's no turning back. They'll cut into the ancient channel immediately. No caution, no half measures, just a full-on, all-in assault on the one opportunity the season has given them. They all know the truth. If the gamble fails, the season ends today. Not next month. Not next week. Today. The excavator fires up with a roar that echoes across the valley. Freddy positions it at the safest angle he can find, which still isn't safe, and begins peeling back the first layers of dirt. 10 feet down, the overburden gives way to something entirely different. A thick slab of tightly compressed gravel emerges, darker, heavier, and more compact than anything they've seen all season. Juan steps forward, scooping a handful. It clings together in a way only ancient river bottoms do. It's the kind of texture geologists dream about, a perfect, untouched placer deposit locked under thousands of years of pressure. He fills a test pan and swirls it gently, the water carrying off the light sediment until only the heavies remain. The bottom of the pan turns black, syrupy, dense with magnetite, and then gold. Not flakes scattered loosely, but bright, coarse pieces embedded in the black sand, like someone pressed them in by hand. The camera zooms in on the test pan, gold so thick it looks painted onto the riffles. Juan grins, nearly laughing at the sight. Freddy mutters under his breath, almost reverent, "This is the kind of pay you only see once in a career." The crew erupts, shouting, celebrating, slapping backs and helmets. After a season of breakdowns, every man finally feels alive again. This isn't just good pay. This is explosive pay. This is the first real sign that their cursed season might flip on its head. With the adrenaline rising, they widen the trench carefully. But as the excavator pushes forward, something unexpected happens. Instead of thinning out, the pay line grows. Wider, denser, stretching deeper and longer than the drone scan predicted. Gold concentration usually narrows as you move away from the center of a channel, but this one doesn't behave like any channel they've ever worked. The deeper they go, the more the material changes. Fine gold gives way to chunky pickers, then larger, heavier pieces, until Juan starts pulling out small nuggets embedded in pockets of blue-gray clay. Every bucket they pull seems richer than the last. Juan crouches again, analyzing the gravel more closely. The texture is wrong. Coarse gravels sit on top, with fine gravels beneath them, the exact opposite of how a typical river deposition forms. It's a geological inversion that doesn't make sense. Unless something catastrophic rearranged the entire structure, something violent, something ancient, something that would have carried massive volumes of gold and slammed them into a natural dead end. Freddy wipes sweat from his forehead, staring at the strange formation. Suddenly it clicks. The reversed layering, the unbelievable density, the expanding pay line. This isn't a channel. It's the aftermath of a glacial burst. A glacial flood thousands of years ago dumped an entire river's worth of heavy material into one confined pocket. And when the ice collapsed, the deposit sealed itself off. They're not chasing a river. They're standing inside a collapsed gold trap, a vault built by nature so perfect that gold collected here for millennia and never escaped. The realization sends a jolt through the crew. This isn't normal pay. This is a geological freak event, a natural vault where gold didn't just settle, it piled, pressed, and locked itself beneath impossible pressure. Suddenly, the entire season makes sense. They weren't unlucky. They were digging beside a fortune, waiting for the right cut to expose itself. As the excavator digs deeper, every scoop tells the same story. Heavier material, richer layers, more gold than their system can comfortably handle. The sluice mats choke with bright, eye-watering yellow, the kind of overload that signals one thing. This deposit is only opening up, not slowing down. The pay line keeps widening, thickening, growing stranger with every foot, all hinting that something even more extraordinary lies ahead. That's when Freddy makes the call to run full throttle. Within an hour, the wash plant is roaring through the night like it finally remembers what it was built for. No choking, no sputtering, no grinding metal. Just a steady, hungry rhythm as it devours the richest material they've seen all year. 14 uninterrupted hours without a single hiccup. The crew can hardly believe the sound after months of breakdowns. Freddy watches the sluice box in quiet disbelief while Juan checks the gauges, waiting for the spike that never comes. For the first time this season, the machines feel synchronized and alive, matching the energy of the ground they've just awakened. When they shut down for cleanup, everyone crowds around the mats. Water sprays across the rubber, washing away the dark muck. Slowly the gold appears, thin streaks at first, then thicker, then ridiculous. Entire lines of gold pack the riffles like someone poured liquid yellow paint across the mats. The camera zooms in on a stretch where the gold is so dense the rubber underneath disappears completely. Not a speck here and there. Not a lucky streak. A carpet. Juan dumps the concentrates into the separator, and Freddy leans over the tray as the final count begins. When the number pops up, the crew screams so loud it echoes off the valley walls. $1.9 million in a single cleanup, more than the previous 6 weeks put together. More than any of them dared to believe they'd see after the nightmare they'd endured. Months of failure, doubt, and near collapse evaporate in an instant. The crew slaps shoulders, hugs, yells, laughs, pure, unfiltered electricity ripping through every miner there. Freddy takes a moment, the noise behind him fading. He stares into the camera, eyes still wide, voice low but steady. We're just scratching the surface. I think this is bigger than any of us understand. And for once, there isn't a shred of exaggeration in his voice. They all feel it. The ground is waking up. Something massive is waiting beneath them. The next drone scan confirms it. Juan uploads the newest layers and watches the display transform. Beneath the pay streak, beneath the thick ribbon of high-density material, beneath even the compacted flood gravels, something strange appears. A hollow zone, a void, a cavern-shaped pocket that shouldn't exist in this type of structure. Geological records from the 1950s mention sink cavities in the region, but the notes were dismissed as errors from early equipment. No one ever found proof. No one believed the pockets were real. Yet here it is, outlined in red by the drone's density map, a large cavern-shaped cavity perfectly positioned beneath the richest run they've ever seen. Juan stares at the screen, running the analysis twice just to be sure. The shape is irregular, but unmistakable, a collapsed moraine pocket. A glacial chamber created when ancient ice melted unevenly, carving a hollow and funneling heavy material downward into a natural bowl. Over millennia, gold would have tumbled in, sinking through layers of gravel and clay until it reached the lowest point. For thousands of years, it would have accumulated, concentrated, pressed together, and sealed off by the same ice that created it. Freddy knows what that means. A trap like this is the holy grail of placer mining. Not a pay streak, not a pay zone, a reservoir, a vault, a natural treasure chamber that could hold more gold than some miners see in a lifetime. But the risks match the reward. Digging toward it invites all kinds of danger. The roof could collapse if they hit the wrong pocket. The ground above could slump without warning. One misjudged bucket and they could lose the excavator, the crew, or the entire cut. Still, Freddy decides they have to go for it, but carefully. No reckless swings, no deep cuts all at once. They'll peel back the layers inch by inch, watching the material like hawks. As they cut toward the cavern's predicted edge, the gravel begins changing again. The texture shifts to a smoother, almost oily consistency. The rare indicator old-timers used to call greasy gold ground, where microscopic particles are so dense they literally change the feel of the soil. Every bucket comes out heavier than the last, almost unnaturally so. Then it happens. The excavator hits a layer of ancient blue clay, and the bucket curls up a massive slab. The moment it lifts, the clay splits apart like it's been waiting centuries to open. Behind it, the wall shimmers. Not with moisture, not with light, with gold. Coarse, bright, embedded gold. Flakes, pickers, and nuggets frozen in place like someone painted the entire chamber with molten yellow and let it dry. Juan drops his shovel. Freddy steps forward, stunned, silent. The lights from the excavator reflect off hundreds of glinting points across the cavern rim. They've found the chamber. It isn't just rich, it's obscene. The kind of deposit no miner expects to see in a real lifetime, let alone during a season that nearly broke them. Gold locked into the walls, gold streaked through the clay, gold packed into tiny pockets that spill out the moment they're touched. The chamber is deeper than anyone guessed, wide enough that none of them can estimate the volume with a single glance. Juan kneels at the entrance, analyzing the structure. Based on the visible density, the layering, and the thickness of the concentration, he estimates the chamber could hold between $40 and $90 million in gold, depending on how far the pocket runs. The number makes the crew go still. Even the camera operator breathes differently. Freddy moves his hand across the cavern wall, brushing gold that's been trapped in place since before human civilization existed. His voice doesn't rise or crack. It barely escapes at all. The find is so overwhelming that there aren't words big enough for it. Juan finally manages a whisper. This isn't a pay zone. This is a vault. The narrator's voice settles low and heavy, calling it what it is. A once-in-3 lifetimes discovery buried inside a season that was never meant to succeed. And as the crew stares into the glowing pocket, they feel the truth settle in their bones. The real shock isn't what they have uncovered. It's what still waits deeper inside the vault nature built and time forgot. That realization snaps everyone into motion. Steel mats slam into position as the crew assembles a brace system in record time, each impact echoing through stone that still quivers from the earlier shift. Support beams lock into place with sharp metallic bites. No speeches, no hesitation. Just focused urgency as they prepare to peel back the first safe slice of the chamber. Freddy signals the excavator forward and the bucket curls into the edge of the vault. Even from a distance, the material glints unmistakably, visible gold threaded through the sediment like molten lines carved by hand. When the bucket swings over the truck bed, the spill is a cascade of shimmering gravel that seems unreal. Juan freezes mid-step, staring at the shine and whispering that he has never seen a bucket glow like polished metal. Load after load comes out the same way. Ridiculous, heavy, glowing. The cavern's pay seems pressed together by time itself, compacted so tightly that every square foot bleeds value. By midday, the wash plant is already choking. The sluices fill faster than the crew can clear them, mats clogging under layers of concentrate so thick they look like wet black velvet stitched with gold threads. Ricky yells that the hopper is nearly overwhelmed, and Freddy just waves him to keep pushing. The plant coughs, roars, and rattles, barely hanging on as the chamber feeds them like some impossible gold spring awakening after centuries underground. When they run the first cleanup, even the crew's veterans go silent. $8 million. One day, one cut. The next day, $15 million. The third, 22. Every tray they pull feels like pouring treasure onto steel. Large nuggets, flat pieces, fist-sized chunks of buttery yellow that don't belong in modern mining. They belong in stories, legends, epics. It feels unreal, almost scripted, but the weight in their hands is real. Freddy leans over the cavern edge that night and stares into the blackness, saying softly that it feels bottomless, like the mountain has been saving this one vein for them alone. They keep shaving down the chamber with surgical precision. Every inch is supported, every cut reinforced. Nobody pushes too far, nobody takes a crazy risk. But the gold doesn't slow. It keeps coming, thick and steady, as if the chamber wants to empty itself before winter seals everything again. The air smells like diesel, rock dust, and adrenaline. Even the greenhorns move with focus. Juan keeps tapping the walls, listening for hollow pockets or fractures, trying to make sure the system holds while the wash plant groans under the daily flood. When they process the final load, the tray that slides out looks impossible. Massive nuggets pile into a mound that sparkles under the work lights. Wire gold coils through the pile like ancient jewelry pulled from a forgotten tomb. Some pieces are so clean they look pre-polished, untouched by time. The crew gathers quietly as Freddy lifts a chunk the size of a lime and holds it against the light. For a moment, nobody talks. Then the numbers hit the sheet, $88 million. A figure so far beyond their expectations that Juan actually laughs in disbelief. It's the kind of tally crews joke about during preseason meetings, the kind that never actually happens outside of fever dreams or gold rush myths. Freddy steps back from the cleanup table, rubs his eyes, and tries to steady his breathing. He finally admits out loud what everyone already knows. The season that nearly ended their operation, the season that threatened their careers, their finances, and their reputation, somehow became the season that saved everything. He says this chamber didn't just turn things around, it rewrote their legacy. Juan nods, still staring at the mound of gold, saying this was the moment everything flipped, from chaos to triumph, from failure to history, the kind of comeback that becomes campfire lore for decades. But just as they begin packing up equipment, Juan notices something off about the far wall of the chamber. A faint opening, narrow, jagged, but definitely leading downward. He angles his headlamp, but the light disappears into darkness deeper than any part of the cavern they explored. Freddy immediately sends up the drone for the last scan before shutdown. The drone dips through the narrow slit of stone and vanishes into a pocket beneath the main chamber. When it returns, the density map loads on the tablet. Everyone crowds around. What appears on the screen stops them cold. Another void, larger than the first. The colors on the density scan pulse darker and denser, showing a mass of material that looks even richer than the chamber they just mined. The shape is irregular, jagged, like the inside of a glacier that froze around sediment thousands of years ago. Freddy studies the data, running his finger along the contours. He murmurs that this isn't just a cavity. This might be a full glacial fissure, a natural gold trap, the kind of formation miners spend lifetimes searching for and never find. A place where erosion slowed, collapsed, and refilled again for centuries, building layers no human ever touched. The crew instantly wants to push deeper, but the risk is obvious. The support system barely holds the chamber they already mined. Going into a deeper fissure without reinforcement would be suicide. Freddy orders a hard stop, no exceptions. They'll come back next season with heavier beams, more bracing, more pumps. Everything they need to go down safely. It's the only call that won't get someone killed. As the sun drops behind the ridge and the lights of the camp flicker across piles of tailings, the crew stands at the cavern entrance one last time. The season's miracle sits in buckets and bars behind them. The deeper chamber waits untouched, silent, ancient. Freddy locks the site gate and looks back at the mountain, knowing they've only scratched the surface. If this season was the miracle, whatever waits below is the legend they haven't met yet.